I hope that you are having a great day. Today we're going to be talking about a poem in our textbook. You can find it on page 30 and 31. We're going to be discussing a poem entitled If I Were Lord of Tartary, okay? Now, this is a poem by a man named Walter de la Mare, and he is an English or a British writer and poet. He wrote a lot of short stories, and in his poetry and in his short stories, he uses a lot of imagery. Okay, so the way he writes is it's very descriptive. So he's describing the way things would look in his world if he were the lord of this mysterious world. Now, this poem is not about an actual place. It is a made-up place in the eyes of the narrator. So the narrator is the person telling the stories. It's not necessarily the author or who wrote it, but it's whoever's telling the story, okay? So the narrator is talking about if he were the lord of this imaginary place, what would life look like? How would he live? And what would the country or this place look like physically? Now, your book has not properly divided this poem into stanzas. It is important that we divide our poems into the stanzas that the author has written them in. A stanza, S-T-A-N-Z-A, a stanza is a group of lines in a poem, that is used in poetry. Now, in typical writing, we have paragraphs, but we have stanzas in poetry, okay? Now, the first thing I want you to do is grab a pencil and your textbook on page 30, and I want you to go through and write the numbers, so 1 next to the first line, 2 next to the second line, and so forth until you get to the bottom, okay? It should look like this when you get finished. 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the way down, okay? And the next page is going to look like this. Ignore all the circles in writing. That's my notes, okay? So I want you to have your numbers all the way down. You will have a total of 32 lines, okay? After the 8th line, and so in between number 8 and number 9, I want you to draw a huge line, okay? Just like I've done here, okay? And everything above that line is going to represent stanza 1, okay? And below that line and into the next paragraph is going to represent stanza 2, okay? So we have a line here between 8 and 9. Our next line is going to go in between line 16 and line 17. Okay, so we're drawing a line underneath 16 and above 17, just like that. Okay, and this and these two lines represent stanza 2. So stanza 1, stanza 2. Okay, the next line you're going to draw is underneath number 24, line 24, and above line 25, right here, okay? And everything above the line and on the bottom of this one represents stanza 3. And then because there is nothing else to write, everything below the line and in this paragraph is going to represent stanza 4. So you will have a total of 3 lines drawn, 32 numbered, 32 numbers next to your written lines that are already printed there. I hope that makes sense. So we're going to break it down when we're answering our questions into stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, stanza 4, because each stanza or paragraph in a poetry talks about something else, okay? And that's what we're going to use to answer our questions at the end. So it's very important that you've done this and have properly drawn your lines and numbered it, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to quickly discuss some vocabulary with you. When this was written, not even when it's written, but whenever what the language that he uses in this poem is not typical language that are vocabulary words that we would use in everyday life. So some of these words we just don't say, okay? So don't get confused if you don't know what it means, or if you're just like, why use that word? Because many people are just like, why use that word? So the first word I want to talk to you about is flaunt. Now this is a pretty common word. The word flaunt means to walk confidently. So if you ever seen somebody walking and they're just like, oh yeah, I got it going on, okay? That's to flaunt, to walk very confidently. Like, you look good, you got it going on. That's what it means to flaunt, okay? The next word is a thwart, and obviously it's not a common word because I can't even say it. So a thwart means to reflect. Okay, so this is Old English, so like where English came from, this is one of those words. A thwart, A-T-H-W-A-R-T, means to reflect. And in this case, it's the fins of a fish reflect the sunlight. Okay, so the line, it says, their fins athwart the sun. It means their fins reflect the light of the sun. So the light hits them, and then you can see the pretty colors from their fins because of that. Okay, the next word is summon. Summon means to call someone. Okay, like I summon you to me. It means I call you to me so I can talk to you, or something happens. Okay, the next two are musical instruments. A harp is one of those large stringed instruments, and the musicians play it like this. A mandolin is an old instrument that had 8 strings on it, and it was kind of played like a guitar, but it had 8 strings. Okay, the next word is wane, W-A-N-E, and wane means to fade away. Okay, I have trouble pronouncing this word, so bear with me. Scimitar, I think. The word scimitar apparently means a curved sword. Okay, so it would have been used a long time ago. And it's a curved sword that people would hang on their belt. It's kind of a status symbol in old days. So lords, or people who were like rulers, they would wear them as a way of saying, hey, I'm pretty cool. So there you go. The next word is glades. And the word glades is, sorry, I have to look at it because it's not used anymore. It's Old English, like I said. And so it would be like a glade would be an open area. It's got trees in it, but it's not super full of trees. So like it would be walking out of a forest area and into like a field kind of area. There you go. The next word is some other words for landscape. I can't think of words today. So the next 3 are glen, which is a valley, a dale, which is also a valley, and a vale, which is also a valley. So the 3 words are synonyms for valley. So let me repeat those: glen, dale, and vale. Okay? And those are on line 28. Okay? The next word and final word is thicket. Now, a thicket is a very thick group of bushes that are really low down to the ground. Okay? So usually along the sides of roads, we find thickets. Okay? Without further ado, I am going to begin reading our poem. Okay? And after that, I'm going to explain the activity for today. So get your classwork notebook also. Okay? All right. If I were Lord of Tartary. If I were Lord of Tartary, myself and me alone, my bed should be of ivory, of beaten gold my throne. And in my court should peacocks flaunt, and in my forest tigers haunt. And in my pools great fishes slant their fins athwart the sun. If I were lord of Tartary, trumpeters every day to all my meals should summon me, and in my courtyards bray, and in the evening lamps should shine, yellow as honey, red as wine, while harp and flute and mandolin made music sweet and gay. If I were lord of Tartary, I'd wear a robe of beads, white and gold and green they'd be, and small and thick as seeds. And ere should wane the morning star, I'd don my robe and scimitar, and zebras 7 should draw my cart through Tartary's dark glades. Lord of the fruits of Tartary, her rivers silver pale. Lord of the hills of Tartary, glen, thicket, wood, and dale. Her flashing stars, her scented breeze, her trembling lakes like foamless seas. Her bird delighting citron trees in every purple vale. All right, so you're probably a little confused. So as we complete our work for today, we're going to talk about each stanza in turn. So what you're going to do is turn to a new page in your classwork notebook. Remember, the front part is for our comprehension work, and that's the part we're writing in, okay? So what I want you to do is to grab a crayon, and I spilled all my crayons. You're welcome for a little laugh today. I'm just going to pick one up off the floor. This is the color I'm using, and I'm going to draw a crown that has 4 points on the top. Something like this, okay? So I'm going to have one line that goes up, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 points at the top. It's very important to have 4, okay? And I'm going to trace this with my crayon to make it very dark and kind of pretty, okay? And you can do this, you have to do this in your classwork notebook. Make sure that you're drawing the 4 points on your crown for the Lord who would wear a crown. Okay, and I'm gonna draw little balls on the top because it's pretty. Okay. All right, and here is my crown. Okay, and I want you to take a different color, something that'll stand out to you, and I'm gonna choose green because that's what I used here. And I'm gonna draw a line from here, from the little V here, all the way down to the bottom, okay? For each of those 3. So I section it, broke a crayon, into 4 parts, like this, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? Then I want you to grab your pencil, and I want you to write stanza 1. Remember, stanza is spelled S-T-A-N-Z-A. Stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, stanza 4. And you're doing this. Now, while we're doing this activity, you do not actually have to write complete, like a full sentence. I want you to just write points, okay? Meaning just 1 or 2 words for each of the things that I tell you, okay? So we have stanza 1 written, stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, and stanza 4, okay? So for the first stanza, what we're going to do is we're going to quickly reread lines 1 through 8, okay? And we're going to see, okay, what is that really talking about, okay? And I'm going to write topic, okay? So I'm writing the word topic for stanza 1, okay? So lines 1 through 8 is stanza 1. So if I were lord of Tartary, myself and me alone, my bed should be made of ivory, of beaten gold my throne. And in my courts should peacocks flaunt, and in my forest tigers haunt. And in my pools great fishes slant, their fins athwart the sun. Now what is that talking about? the topic. I'm going to answer this question for you because I want you to get an idea of how to do the others. Okay, so the topic is his surroundings. So it would be his house. Okay, so what would his palace look like? Okay, so I'm going to write palace appearance. Okay, and I'm going to put a picture of this in Google Classroom so you can see it, but I'm talking you through it so that you know how to think through. Okay, the next point that I want you to put in stanza 1, so we've written topic, palace appearance. So what his palace would look like. Okay, so he would sleep on a bed of ivory, he would sit on a throne of gold. His courts would be full of animals that are really pretty and shine very brightly. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to find one word, okay, pretty easy. One word in this stanza, so lines 1 through 8, write the word and its definition. You're writing the word that you don't know. So a word that you are new to. So for instance, a word that I'm new to would be athwart. Okay, so I'm going to write athwart and I'm going to write the definition. Okay, and I know that the definition means to reflect. Okay, to reflect something. All right, so I know that in stanza 1 we were talking about the appearance of the palace, and I also know that I learned a new word, athwart. Okay, now I'm going to repeat this in stanza 2, stanza 3, and stanza 4, or you're going to repeat this in stanza 2. So you're going to tell me the topic in a few words, and you're going to tell me a new vocab word that you found in those lines. Okay. All right. So you, in each of the next 3 things, you're saying what the topic of those lines were, that group of lines, and then a new word that you found in it, and you have to define it. Okay. All right. And you're doing that for each one. All right. Have a great day.